I'm Barbara Askins, president of the 125th Street Business Improvement District. Development is the driving theme in 2012 on 125th Street. Let's get into this. James Ford, take it from here.
Look, it is her birth name, Barbara Askins, but I think it's so fitting for what she does. The first three letters of her last name, A-S-K, ask. She asks people for anything, and guess what? Everyone says yes, including me. That's why I'm here, among other things. Look, from my perspective, 125th Street and the neighborhood, the environs surrounding it are hopping. And that's why I love it here. I'll put in a quick plug for something that's in your swag bag, the map and guide of the 125th Street bid, which was produced in part by Aloft Hotel, which the place is rocking, and the whole street is rocking. This is a beautiful work of art, and so attractive to the eye on both sides. I only mention it because I'm just impressed with it. This is gorgeous. And the fact is, 125th Street, I'm very impressed with, and it is gorgeous. I am a resident of this neighborhood, fairly new. I've been here a year now, and everything about it is phenomenal. And I spend a pretty good amount of time on 125th Street. I have a 5-year-old daughter. Yeah, we go to the Children's Place, H&M. Not for my daughter so much, but my wife and someone else, me. Yeah, we shop there. I'm a television reporter, so I wear, in fact, I think I got some in my pocket right here. I wear MAC makeup. Guess where I bought this? Yep, the MAC store on 125th Street and Adam Clayton Powell. 125th Street, it's our home, and it's come a long way. When I first started spending time up here was 12 years ago, when I began as a reporter in this city. It's remarkable in that length of time how much has changed. And one gauge of that is the types of stories we've been doing here on 125th Street. Look, I'm a newsman. There's lots of news here. Not all of it is good. But you know what? Over the course of that time, the percentage of, if you will, positive stories versus negative stories like crime, sanitation, it's really changed. In fact, the last story I did here was the president at the Apollo Theater. And the really great thing was covering him, his big song with Al Green, all great, but then getting to walk home because I live just 4 blocks off. The bid likes to talk a lot about this being the village of Harlem. That's a slogan, but it's really real. It feels like a village. And when you have a young child, as I do, it takes a village, and this is the perfect village for family growth. And the real reason I know that is in my building, we're surrounded by families. Where we used to live in Morningside Heights, very nice, but my daughter was really the only little kid. It's all about families here. There are just so many great things about Harlem, and particularly the area that is so very well promoted by the 125th Street bid. Today, just doing these interviews, look, if I haven't clearly conveyed that I love 125th Street, then you're not listening. Obviously, I love 125th Street. But here's what's been amazing, just conducting all the interviews today. If you think 125th Street is really good now, it's about to explode with greatness. I predict, not from any scientific perspective, but from having talked with a lot of the players who are transforming the street, 2.5, 3 years from now, you'll hardly recognize the place. And look, 2.5, 3 years from now, my daughter will be 7, 8 years old. The perfect time for there to be even more cultural outlets along this corridor that we're already taking advantage of, that we look forward to taking greater advantage of in the near future. Things that everyone in this very large village of 500,000 can take advantage of, and that will be even more open to the residents here, people like me, than they already are. This is extremely exciting.
My name is Edwin Marshall. I work for the Department of City Planning. I have worked for the department for 25 years. And actually, I've worked for the City of New York for 32 years, the last 25 with the Department of City Planning. I currently work in the Manhattan office. I work on projects that affect Central Harlem and East Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood. But my primary focus is on Central Harlem projects. I have worked in Central Harlem for the last 18 years. When we were working on a study of 125th Street, the administration, and we were working with the community and the community board and the elected officials, the one thing that we heard was that whatever you do, this is my street, and this is what I want to see happen. This is what I don't want to see happen. There was a personal connection. Even people that didn't even live in Harlem felt a personal connection to the street, and I don't think 34th Street or 42nd Street or 181st Street, which is north of here, have that type of personal connection or personal investment that people have and feel. That people feel a very tight, sort of relationship with 125th Street, and when you mention 125th Street, people know exactly what you're talking about. They know you're not talking about Philadelphia or Detroit or South Central Los Angeles. They know you're talking about Harlem, USA. With that, there has been an influx of new people, of younger people, families, and they need a place to shop. And they're used to shopping in their neighborhood. They come from places where they can walk 1 or 2 blocks and go and get their dry cleaning done, to go get fresh baked goods, to go into a supermarket. So these are the types of things, this activity, this new development activity, which happened in very large measure within a very short period of time, and thankfully before the crash of the financial markets in 2008, which created a critical mass of need. There was already an unmet need before the new construction, but with the new construction and the population that followed, it sort of exacerbated the need to provide more goods and services and local retail. And 125th Street is in a perfect location, both geographically, historically, and functionally, to provide that and to address that unmet need.
If you look at all of the major retail destinations throughout New York City, and you could point to any one of them, 34th Street, Fulton Street, downtown Brooklyn, some of the major retail trade areas, I don't think any of them has a dense residential population in the immediate vicinity of their retail corridor like 125th Street. So with that existing population, 125th Street retailers are always going to do well because there's built-in business right there. That not only goes to 125th Street to shop, but they go there as part of their, their social life. There's so many opportunities to meet friends and go out for dinner and go to the Apollo Theater and do things, the Studio Museum, things other than shop along 125th Street. And when you have that built-in customer base, you're always going to have opportunity for economic development. So that's our biggest strength. I mean, aside from that, obviously, we're a regional transportation hub. I mean, our various subway lines bring in over 15 million people a year. That's a huge opportunity to take advantage of that, potential customer. And just the fact that it's proven over time. Projects have opened over the last 15 years, retail projects specifically. It's the same retailers that were there when these projects first opened. They haven't left. They stay, they renew their leases, they expand in some cases. So obviously, it's good business for them too.
I say it with a certain degree of pride that our organization pretty well started the development in line with the help of a developer, Drew Greenwald, with whom I'm sure you're going to speak. We started the development. We had the vision. He had the vision. We had the vision that 125th Street could really become the Mecca, not just the Apollo, that street. And it could be the focus of Upper Manhattan. We had the land, he had the expertise. Both of us got together, we had the vision, and Harlem, USA, that complex of stores, was born. We are, I think, one of the few of a mid-sized not-for-profits that are lucky enough to own our building. I am pleased to tell you that we were able to rent out the space, one whole floor, to a not-for-profit, and we have another floor vacant. I was very critical of some of the people who wanted to rent the space. Their mission, people come in, we have a school, we have money from this and we can put a school up here and da-da-da. Yeah, but you listen to them talk and you realize that they really are not really interested in the school. They really want to make a lot of money for themselves. So that I could not put people like that, even though it would help me financially. I could not put them in my building. My building is sacred. It's for not-for-profits. If you're not a good not-for-profit, you cannot get into my building. And it's my building.
We opened the movie theaters. There hadn't been a new movie theater, built in Harlem for 75 years. Movie theaters are a great success. Harlem USA is almost 300,000 feet. That project's about 30,000 feet, so it's 1/10 the size. But you'll see a Red Lobster at the second level, and you'll see other retailers on the ground in the basement. We're talking to a number of different retailers, and you'll basically see an exciting, very architecturally distinguished building next to the Apollo. So right now, you really want to be, as a retailer, you want to be in urban areas. I mean, it's the highest growth potential there is. You want to be in Harlem if you're not here. And I think that a lot of retailers still don't get that. But there's a lot of projects in the planning stages. There's the RFP, that's next to the state office building. There's other sites that are under development or under planning. And we will start to see, even more retailers. The good news is there's so many retailers that aren't here yet. A lot of places, retailing is oversaturated. 125th Street, it's not oversaturated. There's plenty of opportunity for retailers to come that aren't here.
Well, there's really an incredible amount of interest in 125th Street. Under Mayor Bloomberg's leadership, working with the City Council, we've put in place a lot of infrastructure, put in place new zoning, and we're seeing the market responding to that, whether it's at the Tasty Bakery site, where we're expecting a 300,000 or 400,000 square foot new development, mixed use, or at our East 125th Street site that used to be called the Uptown New York development, where we have just completed the first phase of development and are looking to move forward shortly on the second phase, or the Corn Exchange. There really is a lot of interest in 125th Street, and I think things are coming together. It's really quite a moment in time for the neighborhood. Well, the exciting news is that many of these projects have moved from the conceptual phase to the implementation phase. So at the Corn Exchange, for example, we've closed on the sale of that property and are expecting construction to begin before the end of this year. At East 125th Street, we have completed the first phase of development with some housing and ground floor retail. We're expecting to move into a more substantial second phase, hopefully in the next several months. Tasty Bakery, we just closed this month on the sale of the property. We're expecting work to begin there in the next year or so. And on the 125th Street site, the current 125th Street garage, we're expecting responses to our RFP sometime in July. And we'll be moving immediately from that into evaluation of the responses and hopefully into negotiation of some sort of deal. Well, the work that bids generally do, and the 125th Street bid in particular does, in making these corridors more desirable, in improving quality of life along those corridors, is critical to the development work that we're doing. It helps to attract businesses, it helps to attract consumers, and it helps to attract residents to the area. In addition to that, we look to the bids to really be our eyes and ears on the ground. As much as we are familiar with 125th Street and Harlem more generally from many, many years of experience, we know that it's the people who are on the ground on a daily basis who understand most what the challenges and opportunities of the neighborhood are. And so we look forward to working in partnership, as we have for so long previously, to continue to work in partnership with the bid to develop great new ideas and to ensure that 125th Street becomes the thriving central business district that it always has been, but even more so.
I need competition. I need more returns for me to flourish, to do better. Critical mass, more of us, better it will be. More rooms we have in Harlem, easier it will be to sell Harlem. Like I say, I go around with my 124 rooms. People look at me and say, great, I need more rooms. I spoke to some tour operators the other day. A couple of people I know from years and years in business. I said, Harlem is great, but you guys don't have enough rooms. We cannot send you business. Open your towns, do something else.
Well, the Victoria is located next to the Apollo Theater on 125th Street, and one of four of the original Harlem Opera houses. The Apollo, the Victoria, the Harlem Symphony, and then the Alhambra. So they were all juxtaposed along 125th Street and served as really the entertainment core. The project's going to have 5 major components. I mentioned the residential housing, the 229 units. We're going to have a hotel with about 210 keys. The hotel ballroom is one thing that is sorely needed up here. We don't have a place where we can celebrate our families, our corporations, our nonprofits, our family reunions, weddings, and those sort of functions. So that's what we think is going to add a lot of vitality. We're also going to have about 27,000 square feet of retail within the building. We've made some efforts, and we are making efforts to work with local organizations so we can bring in some of the local vendors, maybe take 1 or 2 of them off the street and give them some kiosk sort of booths. There is few places where you can get a baseball hat that says "I've been to Harlem." So I mean, hopefully we'll have a souvenir sort of thing going on in there too, that a local vendor can do. We want to do one shop on a contingency basis, on a consignment basis, I guess, is what it really means, so that the local artists at the Harlem Arts Alliance and the organizations I mentioned that are tremendous craftsmen and beautiful painters, etc., they'll have a place where they can showcase their product and hopefully be sold and generate some income for them there. So we're going to have the hotel, the cultural arts center, the retail, and we're going to have some underground parking. So that's the 5 components of the project.
Well, it's interesting. As reported by NYC and Company a couple of years back, the number 3 destination for all international tourists is Upper Manhattan or Harlem. And we figured that, you know what, also with the rezoning of 125th Street, what was the one key element that they focused on? That was trying to create 125th Street as a cultural corridor or destination. So let's say I have now my trip up to the Apollo to see a show. I now also need the ancillary activities to happen. I need restaurants, I need shops, I need other places of which to spend my money, of which to then support the economic vibrancy on the Strip. And tourism and culture are key elements of a draw to bring people uptown. Very dear to my heart is the redevelopment of the historic Victoria Theater. And that, as we know, will be, when redeveloped, will be a 354,000 square foot mixed-use facility that will encompass a hotel, a 200-room hotel, residential apartments that will be 50% affordable to the greater Harlem community, where we're looking at also about 40% of those units to be a 2-bedroom mix. It will also encompass the homes of the Classical Theater in Harlem, the Harlem Arts Alliance, the Apollo Theater Foundation, and Jazzmobile. They will be residents in the redeveloped Victoria Theater with about 25,000 square feet of cultural arts space, which will also have 2 black box theaters, a 99-seat black box theater and a 199-seat black box theater, which will be convertible spaces. Directly across the street is a city project that's coming online, and that, of course, is the redevelopment of Mart 125. And we know that had over the years a number of stops and starts, but now with the city's assistance and the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, we see that that is also, like the Victoria, a transformative project for 125th Street corridor. Then we also have, if I travel a little bit further east and on the south side of, let's say, 125th and Lenox, you'll probably hear from Jeff Sutton and his people as it relates to that corner site at 125th and Lenox being developed as a retail destination. I think he had been talking to maybe it might be Whole Foods and some other uses on that particular strip. So once again, we look at 125th Street as really a strip that will have restaurants, shops, and also cultural entities. Because remember, the key thing of what propelled the Harlem Renaissance were arts and culture.
We are very proud of what we've been able to accomplish at our sites on 144th and Frederick Douglass. So we have another site on the east side, 120th, and now those are middle schools. And now to have the high school makes it even and better in terms of what we're about in terms of teaching our students. In addition to that, as I mentioned to you earlier, we were able to secure on 124th Street the old Rice High School that had been, regrettably, had fallen into bankruptcy. We were able to buy it out of bankruptcy, and we're going to turn it into an elementary school. So we're going to really have a campus, if you like, of Harlem Village Academy students. And I think it all bodes well with respect to what we're trying to do is really put a stake on the ground with regard to the issue of education. I happen to think that education is our national security issue, to the degree that we get involved in investing in our kids, in the basics of reading and writing arithmetic, to give them an opportunity to compete out here in the world. Because if we don't get involved, all of us, no matter who we are, we're going to have a price to pay. And we want, in terms of what the founder of the school, Deborah Kinney, the board, the teachers and principals, we want to do our job in terms of making sure that our students have the best preparation in order to be able to compete in this world.
Our concept is to do a workforce development program where people who live in the community who want to take their business to the next level will go through a training program and then sign a lease for a kiosk, and then if their business is successful, then they can expand, or maybe they want to move into one of the standard retail spaces on a street or avenue or boulevard. And then those who are having trouble can reformulate their business plan through, by going back through the process. And so it will be, we don't want to say incubator, but in a sense, it's kind of an incubator process. But there is, a fee to rent the kiosk space, and then that fee will go into maintenance, security, further education of not only the business owners, but the employees that work there. And then there will be other components of education in the market where people will learn about healthy foods, healthy living, things of that nature. And then we'll also have a huge cultural component because we'll have a lot of open space between the kiosks. So all of that open space will be programmed for cultural expression. So then when you walk into the market, you'll have this rich sense of, this is Harlem, this is East Harlem, this is El Barrio. This is why people come to Harlem, to experience the culture and to meet with the people and learn about, various trades or creativity or recipes or things of that nature. So it becomes a place, a true sense of place where people come and they can get off the bus, or they just walk down the street from their home and they interact with their neighbors, or they interact with strangers from another, part of the city or world, and you get that kind of community building that Harlem CDC is all about, community building.
And I think 125th Street is unique in that it's not just a street full of stores or businesses. It's businesses, it's banks, they're stores, they're street vendors, and you have some cultural institutions as well. So you have a combination of all these things, and the bid is made up of representatives from all walks of life. And I think that's what makes the 125th Street Business Improvement District unique. When I think about the future of the bid, I truly have to think about the businesses and the future development on 125th Street. 125th Street went through a serious rezoning plan project, and the hope or thought was that it would bring into the district major retail, major residential, and also businesses. And I think that in some way the bid has to play a role in that. I mean, if you're talking about big box businesses, the bid has to be involved in looking at the type of businesses that are coming and the effect these businesses may have on some of our existing small businesses on the street. If you're just looking at small businesses, what can we do? How can we incentivize more small businesses to be on the street? And how do we help market these businesses? If you think about residential, what type of residential units would we have on 125th Street? Who would be served? So I think that the bid can help play a role in the discussions that are going to be happening in the future. I think that the bid has to take a pivotal role in thinking about expanding our services beyond the blocks that we cover currently. And I think that it opens up discussions to bigger retailers, national retailers, and whether or not that's a fit in 125th Street, given where we are and where we want to go. Again, 125th Street is not just a shopping corridor, it's a cultural corridor. So I think we have to maintain and balance what is unique about 125th Street. And we know that that culture is part of who we are. It's part of our fabric and our DNA as African Americans. So I want to ensure that we're maintaining some cultural integrity to 125th Street, and it doesn't just become a street like everywhere else where it's just a string of stores.
Enjoying and loving 125th Street, the 125th Street corridor, as much as I do, it has been a true honor meeting with, talking with, learning from the people who are playing such an important part, who've played such an important part in making 125th Street the amazing destination that it is, and who are playing a very big role in continuing that growth. This is a great place that is becoming even greater, and you feel it just walking down the street, and I felt it very strongly in putting together this video. I hope you enjoy it and appreciate it as much as I have.
125th Street Fast Facts. We have a lot of interesting statistics about 125th Street. It's a 2-mile-long center of commerce. 220,218 residents live in a 1-mile radius of 125th Street. We have 18 bus routes that traverse our commercial strip. So you can get across town, uptown, or downtown, on any bus route. All of them cross 125th Street. 10 subway lines cross 125th Street. And out of this, we have an annual ridership that come to 125th Street or pass through 125th Street that involve 23 million people. Approximately 9,847 passengers arrive and depart on Harlem's 125th Street Metro North on a typical weekday. All of these people show the value of why you should be doing business on 125th Street.